I'm sat on a stool and I'm not balancing very well. So today we're going to be speaking about 3 tips that's going to help you create more cinematic videos. So with that in mind, the first tip is to use multiple focal lengths when you shoot. What that means is use multiple video lenses to create different varieties of shots. And the best thing is you don't need to use a DSLR. You can use a phone. Most modern smartphones have multiple lenses on them, and they're usually an ultra wide, a wide, and a telephoto or a medium shot. And what that helps you do is you can actually create different depths to your edit. And you see this all the time. You see it within films all the time where it's a wide shot of a house and then a medium shot of somebody and then maybe a close-up of them picking up their keys. Everyone uses this technique. When you cut these up together, what you're creating is visual richness and you're enriching your content. Tip number 2 is going to be very simple. Stop shooting at eye level. And what that means is if your eyes can see it when you're standing in a room or you're standing in a scene and you put the camera up, that's not going to create the most interesting visual angle for your audience to watch and for you to kind of see what's going on. What you might want to do is start moving the camera into positions where you can't actually get to naturally by yourself. In other words, we've all seen it in films where the camera is going through a hallway, but it's going through at a very low angle and then kind of raising up maybe. I'm not sure about you, but I never crawl around like my house, like just on the ground. But that camera angle being that low gives visual richness that we spoke about earlier and gives your audience an aesthetic, an expectation, a feeling. So that's it. That's tip number 2. Don't shoot at eye level. Always shoot from a different perspective. And by experimenting with that, you will start to get better shots, visually rich shots, and most importantly, more interesting edits. And that brings me to tip number 3, which is going to be the simplest tip, or the hardest tip, depending. And that's to shoot with intention. Know what you're shooting and why you're shooting it. So tip number 3 is going to be to shoot with intention. Know what you're shooting and why you're shooting it. So if you have a scene that's like a romantic scene, you might have like nice close-ups of eyes and faces. And you're going to try everything you can, knowing that you're shooting a romantic scene, to create that feeling. Because ultimately, when you edit a video, when you edit a scene, it is to bring out a certain emotion within the plot, within the narrative. Okay? So if you turn around and just shoot anything, it's going to be so much more difficult for you to know what it is that you're shooting and how you're going to have to cut it together to create that emotion. And that's something you don't want to do. It's going to be so much easier for you if you plan ahead, knowing that a certain scene is a scary scene or a romantic scene or a funny scene, and then adapting your lenses and your scene and your color grading and everything towards that ultimate goal, which is that emotion or that plot device or that scene. So, tip number 3, shoot with intention. Thank you guys for reaching the end of the video. If you like it, please subscribe. Please like the actual video. Comment below on things you want to see in the future, things you don't want to see, things you liked, things you didn't like. Because what it ultimately does is it helps this channel out, helps me out, it helps me understand what content you guys want to see. And right now I'm just kind of guessing because I see so many people do these tips online, which is 10 cinematic tips, and it's like use a variable ND and shoot shallow depth of field, and they're not always the best tips and they're too generic, which is why I tried to create this video, which is 3 alternative cinematic tips that I believe ultimately send you a longer way. Because if you know what you're shooting, that's half your film done. If you have different lenses, it allows you to actually tell a story in a visually rich way. Instead of everything being shot at your 35mm, it doesn't really tell as much of a story. And I believe that those kind of tips help you in the long run to get better shots and tell better stories. So yeah, if you like the video, please subscribe, like, and I'll be back with a new video tomorrow.